Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sanjana, Prabhakar, Product Development Specialist with Nasdaq Investment Intelligence. She joins us to discuss the performance of the suite of Nasdaq indexes for the month of February, a month that saw strong returns across the board. Sanjana, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. Give us a quick review of what stood out in terms of performance for our indexes.
Yeah, sure, Jill. So very excited to cover the performance of the Nasdaq 100 in what was a very strong month. We saw performance largely positive for the 106 indexes we track. 93 indexes advanced while 13 retreated. And the month of February was actually the fourth consecutive month of gains for the Nasdaq 100. So that was pretty impressive. We saw the Nasdaq 100 return 5.3%, which was an improvement over the previous month. So this was largely driven by renewed interest in AI and crypto, along with the strong economic data. And we provide more details in our slides here.
Yes, we do. And let's dive deeper into that. Let's take a look at our featured Nasdaq indexes first.
Sure. So in this slide, you see the NASDAQ featured indexes. So what really stood out here was the NASDAQ Innovators Completion Gap Index. This was the relative outperformer, up 8.6%. It reversed its loss from the previous month, while the PHLX Gold and Silver Sector Index registered another decline, down 7.2%. So we did see the gold and silver sector the gold and silver sector saw a correction due to a firmer dollar and higher bond yields as hopes for an early interest rate cut from the US Federal Reserve diminished. And what also stood out here was the average gain of the indexes. We saw an average return of 4.2%, which was pretty impressive. And if we go to our global indexes, you see the NASDAQ US Large Cap Index was the best performer. It was up 5.3%, followed closely by the NASDAQ US Mid Cap Index, which was up 5.2%. So what I did want to point out here was that while the small cap, mid cap, and large cap indexes tracked closely this month, large caps continued to outperform mid cap and small cap on a rolling one-year basis by 17 and 23 percentage points. So we are seeing a continuation of large cap outperformance. And what's also interesting is that developed markets showed more resilience than emerging markets. I think it's worth pointing out that emerging markets posted positive returns in the month of February after declining in January. We did see data coming in that there were improvements in Brazil and India, which likely boosted returns of emerging markets. And we also captured the performance of our Nordic suite here. We saw that the Nordic indexes mostly registered positive returns led by the strength of the Stockholm index.
And moving along to our thematic ESG suite of indexes, I noticed that there was a lot of dispersion in the results for February.
Yes. So as you mentioned, the thematic ESG indexes, we see a lot of dispersion. This suite of indexes did come under some pressure last year. This month, we saw the indexes registering an average gain of 1%, which was an improvement over the previous month where it registered a loss of 7%. And what's quite interesting here is that the NASDAQ Sprott Junior Uranium Miners Index was the relative underperformer, registering losses of 11%. So this was actually a strong reversal from the previous month where it registered gains of 18.8%. And if you see the NASDAQ Sprott Lithium Miners Index, that was the relative outperformer, up 10.4%, a stark reversal from the previous month where it was down 26%. So we did see prices of uranium dip in February, which was a reversal from the previous month where prices reached a 16-year high. And as a group, if you see, these indexes showed an average return of 1%. And if we move over to our option suite, we see pretty strong results. All but one index posted positive returns, with the exception of the Credit Suisse NASDAQ Silver Flow 106 Total Return Index. And if you look at our green economy indexes, this was a bright spot. You see all indexes moving higher in February, a reversal from the previous month where all indexes moved lower. And if you look at the best performing index, you see the NASDAQ OMX Solar Index. It was up 17%, We did see a lot of positive sentiment surrounding solar this month, and we also saw news trickling in from EIA that combined solar and wind is expected to surpass coal for the first time in 2024, which likely boosted overall sentiment.
All right, moving along here, let's take a look at our dividend and income group.
Sure. So this slide here, we see the dividend and income suite of indexes. You see the tech dividend index is the best performing index, gaining 3.6%, while the US dividend achievers index was the relative underperformer, registering a loss of 2.4%. So on average, these indexes did post gains, modest gains of 1.6%. And if you look at the Nasdaq Dorsey Wright suite, this suite of indexes performed much better than average. You see the suite registering average gains of 7%, led by the Dorsey Wright Healthcare Technical Leaders Index. So pretty strong results for the Dorsey Wright suite.
All right, and finally, how about the performance of the thematic suite?
Yes, so in our final slide here, we wrap up with the performance of the thematic tech indexes. I mean, we've been on Trade Talks a lot, speaking about the outperformance of big tech. And here we have tried to capture the performance of all our thematic suite of indexes. And as you can see, tech continues to shine. We saw semiconductors as a theme gain favor among investors after leading incumbent NVIDIA beat Wall Street forecasts for revenue and earnings. And we also saw the Nasdaq Global Digital Payments Index outperform. It was actually the second best performer, gaining 9.5%, largely driven by gains in Coinbase. AI as a theme, which dominated the suite of indexes last year, registered impressive gains this month as well. So you can see this reflected in the performance of the Nasdaq CTA Artificial Intelligence Index, gaining 7.2%, and the Nasdaq Global AI and Big Data Index, gaining 5.7%. And on average, you see the suite of thematic tech indexes registering overall gains of 4.7%. So just wanted to quickly wrap up that this month, the month of February, was the fourth consecutive month of gains for the Nasdaq 100. We saw strong results from NVIDIA and Meta boosting overall sentiment, along with positive sentiment towards crypto. So a good month to wrap up.
Yes, it certainly was, Sanjana. Appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you very much.